Mabuhay Davao, Mindanao. Welcome to Mindanao Dialogue, a TV talk show designed to provide a venue for dialogue between you, the televiewers, and the guest, and me as your host. A dialogue about Davao and Mindanao issues and the Philippines in general. It is a dialogue on topics that presents a wide gap between what is to be desired and the realities. Meaning between war and peace, if we talk about the Mindanao conflict, between underdevelopment and development, the land and the landless, the lumads and the mainstream society, justice and injustice, morality and immorality, poverty and a decent living, employment and the employed and the underemployed, food sufficiency and the lack of it, good governance and the lack of it called corruption, and good and bad business climate, micro, small, and enterprises versus the medium and large enterprises and the like. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, our guest will be talking about a major problem of our society today about corruption. Our guest is no less than a former judge of the Regional Trial Court here in Davao City, a resigned judge, in fact.
Yes.
And now the Executive Director of Transformative Justice Institute here in Davao City, Attorney Adoracion Cruz Avisado. Good evening, Attorney.
Good evening, Ed. Thanks for having me here. And good evening to all the televiewers of this program, Mindanao Dialogue.
At this point, Attorney Avisado, I'd like you to give your preliminary statements to our audience about the topic about corruption or yourself, yung mga pang-umpisa na mga...
I'd like to express appreciation first and foremost for this topic that you have been tackling. I understand in series.
Yeah,
because it's very important. I think it's the hottest of all the issues in the Philippines today, and corruption is really vital because corruption kills. Sa nakita natin, yung nangyari sa Maguindanao Massacre.
Yeah.
Nag-uugat ang maraming bagay sa tulad ng ganyang korupsyon. And insofar as I'm concerned, and especially given my research on the culture of patriarchy, yun lang yung unang pinagtaunan namin ng pansin, and because of the miscarriage of justice in many cases of women and children, yet I found out that we cannot really mainstream gender and development in the entire justice system unless we also look into the issue of corruption and impunity, because obviously in this country, and particularly also in the justice system, there is an intertwining culture of corruption, impunity, and patriarchy. Kumbaga, magkakakabit at hindi pwedeng isa lang ang titingnan.
Exactly, Attorney Avisado. That's the question that I would like to ask you today, dahil corruption nga, napakarami ng mga sangay ito, maraming branches, no?
Yeah.
In fact, yung first episode ko is corruption in the Bureau of Customs and the Presidential Anti-Smuggling Group, which was not yet aired because some controversy. Hindi ko pa in-air.
Really?
Because he was naming names, leaders of our government and leaders labas sa gobyerno. So, the first segment would be, or the first question is about who is Attorney Avisado in the context of this topic ng corruption. Yun na nga ang preliminary statement mo. Can you expound on it, yung culture of corruption, the corruption and the intertwining factors that you have mentioned?
Well, Attorney Dory Avisado has been a developmental lawyer for decades already. I once worked as a clerk of court of the Regional Trial Court, Branch 9, the same court where I was appointed as the presiding judge. So naging presiding judge po ako dyan 1999 all the way to 2004 when I resigned, precisely because of what I see is obtaining within the judicial system itself na napakaraming problema, and you cannot do advocacy work effectively if you are an insider. So since I'm principally an advocate and a developmental lawyer, I'm part of the pioneer group of the so-called alternative law groups in the Philippines. Dahil I founded the Paglilingkod Batas Pangkapatiran Foundation, nakita ko yung pangangailangan na lumabas ulit, no? At maging advocate, trainer, etc. So I established, when I got out in 2004, the ACT Center. Itong lugar namin kung saan we are really focusing on the various pillars of the justice system. Unlike the traditional 5 pillars, we're talking about 8 pillars of the Philippine justice system: law enforcement, prosecution, the courts. But it's important to also inject the Bureau of Jail Management Penology because the detainees there are suffering now sometimes because of the late disposal of cases, for instance, the courts of law, in addition to the Bureau of Corrections and Penology, which is under the Department of Justice. Kasi yung BJMP, under yan sa DILG, so mahalagang tingnan. Then of course, we want for people to look into the situation of the Public Attorney's Office because the public defenders are the one usually representing the accused, who of course have their human rights likewise. No? And of course, we want for people to look into the Department of Social Welfare Development because they handle a lot of cases on women, children, and family, which is very important to talk about peace and justice. And of course, tayong lahat, that involves the community. So, yun yung principal focus ko ngayon, Ed. I'm really strongly into the forefront for advocacy, and also, I do a lot of training of people all over the country.
Doon sa 8 kwa na yun?
Doon sa 8 pillars na yun. I continue to engage and be engaged by them in this slide.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Dory Avisado. For the sake of our televiewers, yung mga hindi pa masyadong alam yung mga legal definition of corruption, what is corruption ngayon sa Philippine laws and Philippine and international laws maybe, and of course, later on also, sa experience mo sa judiciary, is the corruption defined by the laws and the corruption defined by the people? Meron ba siyang gap or are they the same?
Alam mo, may mga legal and technical description, of course, of corruption. We have laws that pertains, halimbawa, ang popular dyan, yung 3019, that's